Chuck Todd is NBC's political director and moderator of Meet the Press. Chuck, good morning. Good to see you as always. So, 16 days out, just over 2 weeks until Election Day, President Trump going to states he won, the states that perhaps gave him the election 4 years ago, Wisconsin and Michigan, but also playing defense in places like Georgia, states that he would like to thought he had locked up. And boy, talk about locked up. These chants you're hearing at these events, it could be 2016 all over again. President Trump calling for the governor of Michigan to be locked up, still Hillary Clinton to be locked up, and even his opponent, Joe Biden, to be locked up. What is the state of the race right now as he plays defense?
Yeah, he's even trying to resurrect hacked emails that are connected to some Russian intel operation. I mean, it is deja vu all over again. I look at the state of the race, and I'm just surprised at the things that Donald Trump is not doing right now. He's not talking about issues. He's talking about grievances. Well, that's not new. 4 years ago, Willie, he was channeling the grievances of the people at the rallies. He was talking about immigration. He was talking about trade. He was talking about China. He was talking about Obamacare. He may have been talking about them in crude ways. It may have seemed divisive to some people, but he was channeling the grievances of others. It is all personal grievances for him right now. Everything is a personal grievance. And so that to me is the big difference. He has no closing message. He has no closing message on what he's going to do in a second term. Everything seems to be about, hey, if you don't vote for me, I'm never coming back. If you don't vote for me in Florida, I'm firing the governor. If you don't vote for me, maybe I'll leave the country. It is all self-referential at a time when you're supposed to be telling the voters what you're going to do for them. I just think he's just way off message here.
Well, he gets one more chance to draw contrast with Joe Biden, which, as you point out, he's not even really doing at these events. In the debate on Thursday in Nashville, moderated by our own Kristen Welker, what do you expect to see on Thursday night?
I have no idea. I'm not going to sit here and pretend we do know, because it'll be what kind of temperament the president is in. But I do want to point out this inconvenient fact about this third debate. Right now, over 26 million people have already voted. By Thursday, that number could very well be at 50 million. So just think about the fact that a third of the entire voting electorate may have already cast their ballot by the time of this third debate. So the point is, I don't know if even the president makes this a debate like he's never held before, whether it can have that much impact when a third of the American electorate has likely already voted.
An election in so many ways unlike any other. One thing we know, Kristen will do a great job. She will be well prepared. Chuck, thank you very much. We look for much more this morning on Meet the Press when Chuck talks about politics and the pandemic with Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who, as we said, was the subject of the president's ugly taunts again last night. And a reminder, you can watch that final debate between President Trump and Vice President Biden, moderated by Kristen Welker, on Thursday night. That starts at 8:30 Eastern, right here on NBC.